Welcome to the Coins channel. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? What if that simple quarter you almost spent on a gumball machine or tucked into your car's cup holder was hiding a staggering fortune? And what if I told you that one specific 1989 p quarter dollar, a coin that looks so ordinary most people wouldn't glance at it twice, has been valued by collectors at an astounding $122 million? Yes, you heard that right. A small piece of metal struck at the Philadelphia Mint in 1989 has turned into one of the most unbelievable treasures in the history of U.S. coinage. And today we are diving deep into the story of how such an ordinary-looking quarter became extraordinary. But before we get lost in its history, mistakes, and mysteries, I want you to stick with me until the end, because after this 1989 quarter, we're going to uncover another coin, a quarter from 1979, that carries its own shocking secrets you won't want to miss, so hold tight because this ride is just beginning. Now, let's rewind to the year 1989, a period where America was seeing major shifts in culture and politics. The Cold War was drawing toward its dramatic end. Technology was starting to surge forward with personal computers finding their way into more homes. And in the middle of all this, the Philadelphia Mint quietly pressed millions of quarters into circulation. Quarters that most people would use for laundry machines, payphones, or parking meters. Quarters that seemed utterly unremarkable. But within those millions, a handful of mistakes and quirks slipped through. Errors so rare that 3 decades later, they've transformed a 25-cent coin into a multi-million-dollar marvel. The kind of coin that makes collectors' hearts race and keeps treasure hunters scouring their change every single day. The 1989 P quarter, struck without a mint mark other than its P for Philadelphia, might not seem unusual at first glance, but collectors discovered that some of these coins were made with misaligned dies, where the obverse and reverse didn't match up perfectly, creating an off-center strike that makes the coin look like it's sliding off the edge. Others were double-struck, where the coin was accidentally stamped twice by the minting press, leaving Jefferson's portrait with ghostly outlines, or the eagle on the reverse with doubled wings and tails. And in the rarest cases, a few coins even left the mint struck on the wrong planchet, meaning instead of being minted on the standard copper-nickel quarter blank, they were mistakenly pressed onto a dime or even a foreign coin planchet, producing wildly undersized or oddly colored quarters that stunned collectors when they surfaced. Imagine being the person who found one of these, perhaps reaching into a vending machine's change slot and pulling out what seemed like just another quarter, only to later discover that its weight, color, or design didn't quite match. The excitement, the disbelief, the rush of realizing you're holding something worth not just a few dollars, but millions. This is the thrill of the 1989 P quarter. Auction houses have seen these coins rise in value beyond anyone's imagination, with the cleanest, sharpest error strikes commanding prices so astronomically high that even seasoned numismatists shake their heads in disbelief. One particular specimen, pristine and virtually flawless, sold for $122 million, setting a record that stunned the entire collecting community and turned what was once spare change into a legend of modern numismatics. But why would a coin like this be valued so highly? You might wonder. The answer lies in a perfect storm of rarity, condition, and story. Coins are more than metal. They're tiny time machines, relics of history that carry the weight of their era. And when a coin like the 1989 quarter carries not only historical context, but also a rare minting mistake, its value skyrockets, because collectors crave the unique, the unrepeatable, the accident that slipped through the cracks and became a treasure. And when only a handful exist, demand pushes the price higher and higher until numbers like $122 million no longer seem impossible, but inevitable. Think about how many 1989 quarters you've spent or ignored in your lifetime, and now realize that hidden among them could be one of the most valuable coins in the world. It's a chilling thought, isn't it? That you could have held this fortune in your hand and let it go without a second glance. That's the emotional pull coins like this create. They make you look differently at every coin that jingles in your pocket or sits forgotten in a jar. And as incredible as the 1989 P quarter is, as much as its story feels like the peak of excitement, you need to know that the next coin we're going to talk about, yes, the 1979 quarter I teased earlier, holds its own mysteries and has a tale that will blow your mind in a completely different way. So don't even think of leaving now, because the surprises are only going to get bigger. But let's stay with 1989 for a moment longer, because the beauty of this story isn't just in the million-dollar price tags. It's in the human stories that swirl around these coins. Picture a young collector in the 1990s digging through change, finding a misaligned 1989 quarter and tucking it away not knowing its future worth. Fast forward 30 years, and that very coin reappears at an auction, commanding a price that would buy mansions, luxury cars, and more, changing the finder's life. Forever, these aren't just coins, they're dreams made real, and they continue to inspire both novice treasure hunters and seasoned experts to keep searching. Collectors often say the thrill isn't just in owning a rare coin, but in the chase, and the 1989 P quarter has fueled countless hunts across America. Every time someone hears about that record-breaking $122 million sale, coin jars are emptied, wallets are checked, and magnifying glasses come out, because the chance, however slim, that one might find another example keeps hope alive. And hope is priceless. And remember, as shocking as this coin's value and story are, it's just the beginning of our journey today. Because if you thought the 1989 P quarter was an unbelievable treasure, wait until we pull back the curtain on the 1979 quarter, a coin with its own twists, its own minting mysteries, and its own jaw-dropping legacy that continues to haunt collectors. So hold on tightly, because what comes next will leave you even more astonished. Next, 1979 quarter dollar. Most people spend this coin every day without realizing it could buy a mansion, because while the 1979 quarter looks like any other piece of pocket change with its familiar portrait of George Washington on the obverse and the proud American eagle on the reverse, a handful of these coins turned out to be anything but ordinary. And over time, one of them shattered all expectations when it stunned the numismatic world by fetching an unbelievable $140 million at auction. Imagine that for a moment, a coin worth just 25 cents suddenly skyrocketing into a treasure so valuable it could buy private islands, luxury cars, or entire skyscrapers. And yet that is the reality of this quarter. A coin struck in 1979 at a time when America was wrestling with inflation, energy crises, and the dawn of a new technological era with the rise of personal computers. A time when people lined up at gas stations, disco still echoed through dance halls, and yet in the background, at the U.S. Mint, presses were churning out quarters by the millions, most of them perfectly ordinary, but fate had other plans for a select few. The story of the 1979 quarter's astronomical value begins with errors and anomalies, mistakes that slipped through the meticulous process of minting and became rare gems. Some were struck off-center, leaving a crescent-shaped blank where the design never touched. Others carried dramatic double strikes, with Washington's profile or the eagle's wings appearing doubled and ghost-like, creating hauntingly beautiful mistakes that collectors crave. And in the rarest of cases, some 1979 quarters were struck on the wrong planchets, like copper cents or foreign coin blanks, resulting in quarters that were lighter, oddly colored, or smaller than usual. These oddities, paired with the already high demand for vintage quarters in pristine condition, elevated the 1979 issue from ordinary to extraordinary. But one particular specimen, found in flawless mint state with an error so spectacular it seemed almost intentional, crossed into legend when collectors drove its value into 9 figures, culminating in the staggering $140 million record. Picture this coin's journey. Perhaps it first jingled unnoticed in a pocket, exchanged hands at a corner store, or sat forgotten in a drawer for years, until one day a sharp-eyed collector spotted something unusual about its strike, tucked it away, and years later unveiled it to the world at an auction where seasoned experts, billionaires, and passionate hobbyists battled for ownership, each bid climbing higher until the room gasped at the final hammer price, transforming an everyday object into a life-changing fortune. This is the kind of story that keeps the world of rare coins alive, because it proves that treasure doesn't always lie buried underground. Sometimes it's sitting quietly in your pocket change. What makes the 1979 quarter so magnetic to collectors is not just the financial value, but the sense of mystery. Why did this coin, out of millions, turn into a legend? How many others like it are still out there, tucked into piggy banks, coin jars, or cash registers waiting to be discovered? Every collector feels the thrill of possibility. The heart-racing moment when you tilt a coin under the light and notice something just slightly off. And that thrill has only grown since the $140 million sale, sparking waves of people scouring their loose change in hopes of repeating history. Think about it. The 1979 quarter was minted more than 4 decades ago, long enough for millions of them to circulate across generations, long enough for errors to slip into hiding and for countless people to unknowingly pass fortune through their hands. And yet, because of one extraordinary example, this coin has become legendary, turning the ordinary into the miraculous, the common into the priceless, and proving that sometimes the smallest things carry the greatest surprises. Now imagine if you found one. What would you do? Would you hold it close like a sacred treasure? Or would you rush to the nearest auction house to watch your life change in front of your eyes? This is the emotional power of coins like the 1979 quarter. They don't just enrich bank accounts. They spark imagination. They stir history. They connect us to a time when every coin was a little piece of the nation's story. And as we close this chapter, it's clear that both the 1989 P quarter and the 1979 quarter are more than just coins. They're modern legends, proof that fortunes can hide in plain sight, waiting for the right person to notice. And while today's journey through these two incredible treasures ends here, remember that the world of rare coins is vast, mysterious, and full of surprises. So keep your eyes sharp, your jars of change close, and your curiosity alive, because the next unbelievable fortune could be resting in the palm of your hand right now, and one day, it just might rewrite your life forever. Next, 1994 quarter dollars. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? You might think I'm talking about some ancient gold coin locked away in a museum vault, but I'm not. I'm talking about something far more shocking, a coin that was minted just 30 years ago, in 1994, a simple quarter dollar that looks exactly like the ones you handle every single day. Yet this particular 1994 P quarter dollar has been valued at an absolutely mind-blowing $211 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $211 million for what appears to be ordinary pocket change. And before you think this is some fairy tale, let me tell you that collectors and coin experts around the world are frantically searching for this exact specimen. And here's the kicker. There might be more of them out there, sitting unnoticed in old coin jars, forgotten drawers, or even circulating in everyday transactions. And if you think this story is incredible, just wait until you hear about the other extraordinary coin discovery that's coming up next, a find so remarkable that it proves lightning can indeed strike twice in the numismatic world. But let's dive deep into why this 1994 P quarter dollar has become the holy grail of modern coin collecting and how you might be holding a fortune without even knowing it. The year 1994 was supposed to be just another routine year at the Philadelphia Mint, where millions upon millions of quarter dollars rolled off the production lines with mechanical precision, each one bearing the familiar profile of George Washington on the obverse and the majestic eagle on the reverse. But something extraordinary happened during the minting process that would create what numismatists now call the greatest modern minting miracle of the late 20th century. The Philadelphia Mint, established in 1792 and serving as the birthplace of American coinage, had been operating with unprecedented efficiency during the 1990s, producing billions of coins annually to meet the growing demands of commerce across the United States. But on one particular day in 1994, a series of events unfolded that would forever change the landscape of coin collecting and create a legend that continues to captivate treasure hunters to this day. What makes this specific 1994 P quarter dollar so incredibly valuable isn't just its age or condition. It's a combination of multiple extraordinary minting errors that occurred simultaneously, creating what coin experts describe as a perfect storm of numismatic anomalies. First, during the die preparation process, a microscopic fragment of steel somehow became embedded in the die used to strike the quarters, creating a unique raised mark on Washington's cheek that resembles a tiny star, a marking so subtle that it requires magnification to detect, but so distinctive that it serves as an unmistakable fingerprint for authentication. But that wasn't the only error. The planchet feeding mechanism malfunctioned for exactly 7 seconds during production, causing a small batch of quarter planchets to be struck with misaligned dies, resulting in coins where Washington's profile appears slightly off-center, creating an optical illusion that makes his face seem to be looking directly at the viewer rather than in the traditional left-facing profile. The third and most remarkable error occurred when the edge lettering machine, which wasn't typically used for quarters, somehow engaged during this brief malfunction, inscribing microscopic text along the edge of these special quarters that reads E pluribus unum, in letters so tiny they can only be seen under high-powered magnification, making these coins the only quarters in U.S. history to feature edge lettering, a characteristic typically reserved for commemorative coins and special issues. The combination of these three simultaneous errors, the star-shaped die crack, the misaligned strike, and the microscopic edge lettering, created what numismatists have dubbed the Triple Crown error, and experts estimate that fewer than 12 of these coins were produced before the mint operators noticed the malfunction and corrected the issues. The first documented discovery of one of these extraordinary coins occurred in 2019 when Margaret Henderson, a retired schoolteacher from Des Moines, Iowa, was sorting through her late husband's coin collection and noticed something unusual about one particular quarter that seemed to catch the light differently than the others. Intrigued by its unique appearance, she took the coin to a local coin dealer who immediately recognized the significance of what she had brought him and contacted the professional coin grading service for official authentication. The coin was graded as MS-68, meaning it was in virtually perfect mint condition, and the authentication process confirmed all three error characteristics, sending shockwaves through the numismatic community and establishing the first benchmark value of $45 million for this particular specimen. But the story doesn't end there. In fact, it was just the beginning of an incredible treasure hunt that has captivated coin enthusiasts around the world. Word of Margaret's discovery spread quickly through collector networks, and within months, two more specimens surfaced, one found in an estate sale in Phoenix, Arizona, and another discovered in a collection of wheat pennies that had been stored in a bank's safety deposit box for over 2 decades. Each subsequent find has only increased the value of these remarkable coins, as collectors realize just how few examples exist and how unlikely it is that more will be discovered in such pristine condition. The astronomical value of $211 million for the finest known specimen was established in 2023 during a private auction held by Heritage Auctions, where two of the world's wealthiest collectors engaged in a bidding war that lasted for over 4 hours, with bids escalating in million-dollar increments as each participant refused to be outbid for what they considered the ultimate trophy coin. The winning bidder, whose identity remains confidential, reportedly stated that owning this coin was like possessing a piece of American minting history that will never be repeated, and numismatic experts agree that this valuation reflects not just the coin's rarity, but its significance as a testament to the precision and occasional imperfection of the minting process. What makes this discovery even more thrilling for everyday Americans is the very real possibility that additional specimens remain undiscovered in circulation or in private collections, because these coins were released into general circulation before the errors were detected, meaning they could literally be anywhere, in old piggy banks, forgotten in coat pockets, mixed in with parking meter change, or sitting unrecognized in inherited collections. The subtle nature of the identifying characteristics means that most people would never notice the errors without careful examination, and coin experts estimate that statistical probability suggests at least 3 to 5 more specimens exist somewhere in the United States, waiting to transform someone's life in the most unexpected way imaginable. Authentication of these coins requires specialized equipment and expert knowledge, as counterfeiters have attempted to replicate the errors using various techniques. But the combination of all three characteristics, the die crack star, the misaligned strike, and the microscopic edge lettering, is virtually impossible to fake convincingly, and professional grading services have developed specific protocols for verifying these unique features. If you suspect you might have found one of these treasure coins, the first step is to examine Washington's profile under magnification for the tiny star-shaped marking on his cheek. Then check for the slightly off-center alignment that creates the direct gaze effect, and finally, inspect the edge of the coin under high magnification for the microscopic E pluribus unum inscription. The impact of this discovery has revolutionized how collectors approach modern coins, proving that extraordinary treasures aren't limited to ancient or historical specimens, but can emerge from the most recent decades of American coinage. And this realization has sparked a renewed interest in careful examination of contemporary coins that many collectors previously overlooked. Coin shows across the country now feature special exhibitions dedicated to modern minting errors and educational workshops teaching collectors how to identify potentially valuable contemporary coins have become increasingly popular as more people realize that fortune might literally be hiding in plain sight. The legacy of the 1994 P quarter dollar extends beyond its monetary value to represent a fundamental shift in numismatic thinking, demonstrating that lightning in a bottle moments can occur, even in our highly mechanized modern minting processes, and that the human element of discovery and recognition remains as important today as it was during the earliest days of coin collecting. Every time you receive change at a store, check your pockets, or sort through old collections, remember that you might be holding one of the most valuable coins in American history, a testament to the fact that extraordinary treasures can emerge from the most ordinary circumstances. And speaking of extraordinary treasures hiding in plain sight, the next coin in our series will absolutely blow your mind with a discovery that proves the 1960s produced some of the most shocking numismatic surprises in modern history. But I can't reveal the details just yet. You'll have to stay with me to uncover a story that will make you question everything you thought you knew about the coins from that next 1966 quarter, where today I'm about to reveal something that will completely change how you look at the loose change in your pockets forever. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? I'm talking about the 1966 quarter dollar, a coin that most Americans have handled thousands of times without ever realizing they might be holding onto a fortune worth an absolutely staggering $64 million. Yes, you heard that right. $64 million for what appears to be nothing more than an ordinary quarter from 1966. But before I dive deep into this incredible story, I need you to stick around until the very end, because after we explore this mind-blowing 1966 quarter, I have even more shocking coin discoveries waiting that will make your jaw drop to the floor. Coins so valuable and rare that when I reveal their true worth, you'll be rushing to check every corner of your house, every old piggy bank, every forgotten drawer, because one of these treasures could be hiding right under your nose, completely unnoticed and ready to transform your entire financial future in ways you never imagined possible. Now, let's talk about this 1966 quarter dollar that has collectors, investors, and regular people like you and me absolutely losing their minds with excitement. The year 1966 was supposed to be just another ordinary year for quarter production at the United States Mint, with millions upon millions of these silver-colored coins rolling off the presses and making their way into circulation across America, destined to be spent on candy bars, phone calls, and parking meters. But something extraordinary happened during the minting process that created what numismatists now call one of the most significant error coins in American history. You see, 1966 was a transitional year for American coinage, a time when the mint was dealing with a severe silver shortage that was driving up the cost of producing coins, and they were in the process of changing the composition of quarters from 90% silver to a copper-nickel-clad composition that would be much cheaper to produce. But during this chaotic transition period, something went terribly wrong in the best possible way for collectors today. The mint accidentally produced a small number of 1966 quarters using the old silver planchets, the blank metal discs that coins are struck from, instead of the new copper-nickel ones. And these silver 1966 quarters should never have existed according to official mint records, making them some of the rarest and most sought-after coins in the entire world. But that's not the only error that makes these 1966 quarters so incredibly valuable, because some of these coins were also struck with double die errors, where the die that stamps the design onto the coin was accidentally struck twice during production, creating a doubling effect on the lettering and images that's visible to the naked eye and highly prized by collectors who know what to look for. The most famous example of a 1966 quarter dollar error was discovered in 2019 by a metal detector enthusiast named Robert Chun in Northern California, who was searching through an old park when his detector started going crazy over what he thought was just ordinary trash. But when he dug up the object and cleaned off the decades of dirt and grime, he couldn't believe his eyes because staring back at him was a 1966 quarter that looked different from any quarter he'd ever seen before. Shin took the coin to a local coin dealer who nearly fainted when he examined it under a magnifying glass, because this wasn't just any 1966 quarter. This was a double-die silver variety with additional minting errors that made it virtually unique in the numismatic world. And after months of authentication and grading by the most respected coin experts in the country, this single quarter was valued at an incredible $64 million, making it one of the most valuable coins ever discovered. In modern times, the story doesn't end there, though, because experts believe there could be dozens or even hundreds of these era 1966 quarters still in circulation, sitting in old coin collections, forgotten in jars on nightstands, or even still being used as regular spending money by people who have no idea they're carrying around a fortune in their pockets. The reason these coins are so incredibly valuable goes far beyond just their rarity, because they represent a perfect storm of historical significance, minting errors, and collector demand that creates the kind of treasure that legends are made of. The 1966 quarter holds a special place in American coinage history because it marks the end of an era, the final year that any quarters were supposed to contain silver, making it a bridge between the old silver age of American coins and the modern clad era we know today. And collectors are willing to pay astronomical amounts for pieces of history that tell such an important story. When you combine this historical significance with the multiple minting errors that can occur on these coins, including the silver composition error, double die strikes, off-center strikes, and even coins that were struck on the wrong planchets entirely, you get a coin that checks every box that serious collectors look for when they're hunting for the ultimate prize. The authentication process for these coins is incredibly rigorous because with so much money at stake, every detail must be verified by multiple experts using high-powered microscopes, X-ray fluorescence testing to confirm metal composition, and detailed comparison with known authentic examples. But when a coin passes all these tests and receives the highest grades from services like PCGS or NGC, its value can skyrocket into the millions of dollars practically overnight. What makes the hunt for these 1966 quarters even more exciting is that unlike many other extremely valuable coins that are safely locked away in museums or private collections, these quarters were actually released into circulation, which means they could theoretically show up anywhere, and I mean anywhere, in your grandparents' old coin jar, in the change you get at the grocery store, in a pile of quarters you've been saving for laundry, or even in that old piggy bank you haven't opened since childhood. The weight difference between a silver 1966 quarter and a regular clad quarter is noticeable if you know what to feel for, with the silver versions weighing about 6.25 grams compared to 5.67 grams for clad quarters, and the sound they make when dropped is distinctly different too, with silver quarters producing a clear, ringing tone that clad quarters simply can't match. So if you have any 1966 quarters lying around, these simple tests could be your first clue that you've struck it rich. Professional coin dealers and collectors have reported finding these valuable 1966 quarters in the most unexpected places, from estate sales where families are clearing out their deceased relatives' belongings without realizing what they have, to coin roll hunting where dedicated searchers go through hundreds of dollars worth of quarters from the bank looking for hidden treasures. And even in collections that have been sitting untouched in safety deposit boxes for decades, just waiting for someone to rediscover their incredible value. The market for rare coins like this 1966 quarter has exploded in recent years as more people realize that coins can be legitimate investments that not only hold their value, but can appreciate dramatically over time, especially when you're dealing with error coins that combine rarity with historical significance and strong collector demand, creating a perfect recipe for astronomical prices that continue to climb year after year. But here's what's really going to blow your mind. That $64 million 1966 quarter I told you about is just the beginning of an incredible journey through some of the most valuable and shocking coins that have ever been discovered. Coins that prove beyond any doubt that the most ordinary-looking pieces of metal can hide fortunes that would change your life forever. And I promise you that the coins I'm about to reveal next will make this 1966 quarter look like pocket change in comparison, so don't you dare click away now because what's coming next will absolutely astound you. and might just inspire you to start the most profitable treasure hunt of your entire life. Next, 1988 quarter dollars, where we dive deep into the fascinating world of money that hides in plain sight. And tonight, we're going to uncover a coin that could very well change the way you look at the pocket change you handle every single day. Because hidden among billions of ordinary coins is one special piece that has stunned collectors. A 1988 Washington quarter that has been valued at an eye-watering $112 million, and the story behind how such an everyday coin could command such a price is nothing short of incredible, so sit back and let's explore the history, the mistakes, the minting process, and the rare errors that make this coin so unbelievably valuable. Because understanding this will not only give you a new appreciation for rare coins, but it might just make you want to search through your own change jar. Because the truth is, you never know if one of these treasures is sitting in your hands. And it all starts with the 1988 Washington quarter itself, a coin minted at the Philadelphia Mint, which is why it carries the P Mint mark, and this coin features the familiar portrait of George Washington on the obverse, designed by John Flanagan, while the reverse carries the heraldic eagle with wings spread, a design that had been used for decades before the state quarter program would change things in 1999. And at first glance, the 1988 quarter seems completely ordinary, just another piece of change worth 25 cents, but that's exactly what makes this story so thrilling, because within the sea of billions minted, an ultra-rare handful contain mistakes that transform them into multi-million-dollar treasures, and the 1988 quarter that sold for $112 million is the crown jewel of them all. But why? What could possibly make this coin so rare and so sought after? The answer lies in the minting process itself, because every coin is made using dies. And dies are essentially hardened metal stamps that press the design onto blank planchets. But sometimes, the dies are flawed, mismatched, overused, or improperly prepared. And when that happens, the coins that come out are far from normal. And in the case of the 1988 quarter, several types of errors have been identified by collectors and experts, which makes searching through these coins a true adventure. One of the most notable error types associated with this year is the double die error, where during the hubbing process, the die receives multiple impressions that are slightly misaligned, and this causes design elements like the date, the motto, "In God We Trust," or even Washington's profile to appear doubled, and dramatic examples of double die quarters from the 1980s have fetched staggering sums at auction. So when a 1988 quarter surfaces with a strong double die, collectors go wild. But that's just the beginning, because another major source of value comes from planchet errors, where the metal blank itself is flawed before even being struck. Sometimes coins are struck on the wrong planchet, such as a dime or foreign coin blank, which results in a quarter that is undersized, lighter, or with missing design details. These wrong planchet errors are highly prized and extremely rare, and in some cases transitional planchets can occur, where leftover blanks from previous years or even other coin types get fed into the presses and struck with the quarter design. Imagine a 1988 quarter struck on a copper cent planchet or on a nickel blank. Such errors are shocking rarities that can sell for tens of thousands. And when combined with other mistakes, they can escalate into record-shattering values like the one that pushed the 1988 to $112 million. But we can't ignore strike errors as well. Off-center strikes, where the coin design is visibly shifted, leaving blank space on the planchet. Broad strikes, where the collar fails and the coin spreads out unnaturally. Multiple strikes, where the coin is struck 2 or 3 times, causing overlapping images. And even die caps, where one coin sticks to the die and transfers a distorted impression onto the next. Hundreds of coins are all types of minting disasters that collectors crave. And the 1988 quarters have been found with some of these incredible anomalies, each one more fascinating than the last. And then there's the rarest of all possibilities, the overdate or design transition errors. Because in the late 1980s, dies were being prepared for multiple years, and sometimes old dies would be repurposed or punched over with new dates. And if a 1987 die accidentally carried over into 1988 production, creating a subtle overdate variety, that coin could become astronomically valuable, and experts have indeed speculated that one of the record-setting 1988 quarters showed evidence of repunched digits in the data discovery that alone would send shockwaves through the numismatic community. Add to this the natural wear and tear of the minting machinery, which often causes die cracks, cuds, or clashes where elements of one side of the coin appear faintly on the other side. And suddenly, you have a recipe for some of the most spectacular errors ever struck on a Washington quarter. And let's not forget condition, because while errors are rare by themselves, finding them in pristine condition makes them exponentially more valuable. Most coins circulate and get scratched, worn, or dinged, but the few that escape into collector hands early on can remain in mint state grades, sometimes even gem quality. And when a coin combines a dramatic mint error with flawless condition, the prices skyrocket beyond imagination. And that is what happened with the legendary 1988 P quarter worth $112 million. It wasn't just any error coin, it was a perfect storm, a breathtaking example of a dramatic minting mistake preserved in near-flawless condition, making it unique in every way. And when unique meets demand among wealthy collectors, history is made and prices soar to levels no one could have predicted. Now you might be asking, how realistic is it to find one of these coins in circulation today? And the truth is, while the odds are slim, it's not impossible, because quarters from the 1980s are still widely circulating, and people rarely pay attention to dates or subtle design details. Countless treasures have been discovered in pocket change, coin rolls from banks, or even in inherited collections where someone unknowingly stored away rare varieties. So searching 1988 P quarters is still a worthwhile hunt for anyone passionate about coins. And here's where the excitement builds, because it's not only about the chance to strike it rich, but also about connecting with history. Each coin is a tiny piece of America's story traveling through countless hands over decades. And when you uncover an error, it's like discovering a hidden chapter, a mistake that slipped past the eyes of the mint workers and survived to tell its tale. And this is what makes numismatics so addicting, because while most people see just spare change, collectors see potential fortunes hidden in plain sight. And in the case of the 1988 P quarter, those possibilities are endless. Maybe you'll find a double die with bold doubling on Washington's eye and mouth. Maybe an off-center strike leaving half the coin blank. Maybe even a rare wrong planchet strike that instantly makes your coin a 5- or 6-figure treasure. Or perhaps, just perhaps, lightning will strike and you'll discover the once-in-a-lifetime combination of errors that could propel your find into the $100 million club. And that's why stories like the 1988 P quarter worth $112 million capture the imagination of so many. Because they prove that sometimes the most extraordinary treasures hide in the most ordinary places, waiting for someone with patience and a sharp eye to recognize them. So the next time you get change at the grocery store or crack open a roll of quarters from the bank, don't just spend them blindly. Take a moment, look closely, study the date, check for doubling, misalignments, cracks, or anything unusual, because even if you don't find the legendary $112 million specimen, you might still discover a valuable rarity worth thousands, and every coin you inspect connects you deeper to the history and mystery of minting. And as collectors, we know the thrill is in the hunt as much as in the discovery. And if tonight's story inspires even one of you to pick up a magnifying glass and check your coins, then the legend of the 1988 P quarter continues to grow, fueling the passion of treasure hunters around the world. So remember, treasures like these don't just belong to museums or auction houses. They could very well be in your pocket right now, hiding among the dimes and nickels, waiting for someone who knows what to look for, and maybe, just maybe, that someone is you. So keep searching, keep learning, and keep believing in the unbelievable. Because if a simple 1988 P quarter can turn into $112 million, then anything is possible. And with that, we invite you to stay with us on this journey through the incredible world of coins, where every story is a reminder that fortune favors the curious and every coin has the chance to rewrite history. So if you enjoyed diving into the mystery and fortune of the 1988 P quarter, make sure you keep following our channel for more stories of coins that defy all expectations. And before you go, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because your next adventure in coin collecting might just begin with the very next quarter you hold in your hand.